as much as we want to, we can't control what's going on at home. It's going to happen. But despite that, you can control what's going on at school, and that can give them what they need.
Welcome to Inspiring Teachers, a show bringing you classroom tips, motivation, and stories from successful educators. Join Tavis Beam and Danny Hogger as they explore the why of teaching.
Welcome to Inspiring Teachers. I'm Danny Hogger alongside
Tavis Beam.
And we're so excited to be bringing you a brand new episode with Kenneth Farr. Kenneth, how are you doing today?
Everything's good. Good to be here.
So much.
Excited. Thank you both for having me.
We're excited too. Last week we talked to Michelle from Pocketful of Primary, and today we're continuing on the primary school trend. Kenneth teaches 5th grade in the East Bay area and is, from the moment I met him, one of the most inspiring teachers that I ever met. And it's a weird thing to tell somebody when they're sitting in front of you, but it's true. When I'm making the list of people to talk to, you just made such an impression on me right away, and this is like man love. This is like you were just come off as like such a genuine person who cares about what they do, and I mean that in the sincerest compliment. That I was just like, man, those kids are lucky at his school because he seems like he really cares, puts a lot into what he does, and so we're really happy to talk to you today.
Thank you so much. It's exciting to be here today.
So you're in your 5th year teaching, is that right?
This is my 5th year teaching 5th grade, so I've been joking with everybody saying 5 must be my lucky number this year.
There you go. It's like you can apply for AARP. You got your 55.
I know.
Double fives. From when we started meeting at new teacher meetings when we were working for the same organization. And how do you think you've developed over the last 5 years, especially staying at the same grade level? What's changed for you?
When you look at it logistically, I would say I feel like a lot of my curriculum is a lot more richer now. I would feel like the things that I have the students do is not just, little things that, as a first year teacher, you don't know, but, you look back and I'm like, 4 years ago, what was I doing? Worksheets, that was boring, things like that. And so just a lot more hands-on approach, a lot more just knowing your students and knowing which students can benefit from what and making lessons engaging and things like that. So that's from a logistic view. But from looking more from a moral view, and this is the one I'm a lot more proud of, I really feel like I developed wisdom. And I use that wisdom to help these 10-year-olds get better every single day. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the biggest part that's like made me really happy, as to where I was learning with them 3-4 years ago. Now I feel like I know enough. There's always still so much, further to go, but now I know enough to where, and I've seen it happen to where they don't know what's going on and I do with them, in the classroom setting. So I think that really helps just create a better flow and environment for the classroom.
Wow. Can you tell us a little bit about that wisdom? Like what have you felt like you've developed specifically and how are you sharing it with them? Right,
definitely. So I'll talk about the strongest one that like sticks out to me is, and I feel like I'm like jumping right into something, a little deep, but
that's why we're here. Right? I'm Kenneth and I'm a teacher.
I know, right? When you look at these kids and you figure out just by things they're doing and things they're saying and meeting their parents and meeting families, you see how much is going on at home. Mm. And the way I look at it, it's like I'm teaching, I have a class of 15 this year. We have really small class sizes. I am teaching 15 students who are going home being raised 15 different ways with 15 different mindsets. And a lot of them are healthy and genuine and it's exactly what they need, but a lot of them are not. Mm. And so I think that's something that I've really, really developed in is when things aren't going as good as they should be at home, whether they're not getting the support they need, whether it's, something as small as they, don't have a snack every single day, to something, bigger areas. No matter what the case may be, these are all amazing, amazing kids. And so I think I've learned a lot about how to show not just find the good in every student, but to show them how to find the good in themselves. And by that, just little things like, when you're teaching, making sure and looking over that one student's shoulder and making sure they understand, and making sure, you clear your Thursday afternoon and Wednesday afternoon to make sure they're ready for that Friday assessment, and have them after school with you and, just little things like that, to where you're with them, whether it's one-on-one or whatever the case may be, to show them, I'm with you. I'm here to do whatever it is you need me to do, because that's, I feel like, is what we owe it to these kids, because then you're setting them up in the right way. And, I feel like as teachers, as much as we want to, we can't control what's going on at home. It's going to happen. But despite that, you can control what's going on at school, and that can give them what they need, so I just
Right.
think
You're really
that's-
showing them that you're giving your all. You're
Right.
giving everything to them.
Right.
And you're really genuinely there for them.
Right.
And so part of that growth is a growth in like an awareness of all the factors that go into the students in your classroom, more than just what they're doing, but why and what are they coming from, right?
Right. Really listening to each and all 15 students' needs, because each one is different.
Right. Another thing that I've really, really learned is I'm at the point now to where the school I teach at is a K through 8 school. And so I'm 5th grade, and then you have it goes up to 6th, 7th, and 8th. It's not one of the schools where you leave at 5th grade and go to a different, middle school. And so I'm seeing the classes I taught in junior high school.
Right.
Now, and classes who, I feel like I had so much success with, who, things went great, and, I was very confident sending them off. They're doing really good. However, I'm looking at 3 classes now, our 8th grade, 7th grade, 6th grade I've taught when they were in 5th grade. But you look at junior high school and it's a completely different beast. And we all know that, 7th grade, 6th grade, 8th grade, you get to that point. 6th grade, you're making that transition in, and, students socially just don't know what to do with one another. 7th grade, they think they have it all figured out and they don't. And then 8th grade, they're just so over and ready for high school. And you have all of this in a big junior high school program. And like I said, amazing
And they all
kids.
know each other.
Exactly. They're all trying to make this all work.
Right.
And at the end of the day, they're all 11, 12, 13, and 14 years old just trying to figure this out. And
Right.
so one thing I've learned is, as an elementary school teacher, and it's the last year they're technically considered elementary school, I have to make sure and every single day create an environment in 5th grade to where my 15 students are comfortable with one another and willing to be vulnerable and raise their hand and get it wrong, but know that they need to be proud of themselves for trying, knowing that they could say that silly thing and not get judged for it, just to create an atmosphere to where they, truly, truly care for one another and respect one another and feel comfortable,
I'd really like to hear more about how you do that, because when I was doing elementary school, that was one of my major focuses too. And I'd love to hear some of the methods that you've employed.
Definitely. I think the biggest one that helps them, start to get there is I just put myself out there in class. Yeah. I am not one of those teachers. And, to each its own. Some people agree, some people don't. But I'm not one of those teachers who, has to, be a certain way or act a certain way. If I'm vulnerable and I'm feeling sad because something made me sad, I let the students know. Mm-hmm. As an adult, you obviously, only tell them so much.
Some boundaries.
Of course. Right. But, you let them know, hey, I'm feeling sad today. If you're having those rough days, you can let them know. It won't hurt to go there to the extent of, today's a rough day today. I'm going to, I still have my game face on and know that, we're going to get through these lessons today and I mean well, but if you just notice I'm a little off, I just want to let you know, it's just a sad day. And things like that,
makes them okay to do the same.
Exactly.
You welcome that in the classroom.
Exactly.
We're all honest and open here. Yeah.
Right. And I think that mentality is more common now than at least when I was in school.
For sure.
I don't remember teachers really opening themselves up to their class. They were very shut off. It was much more of a professional relationship, where I feel like there's kind of a culture now of really being open and honest. At least that's how I went to UC Santa Cruz. Right. That's where I got my master's degree. And that's how I was trained, was to be the genuine you.
It's great, man. I really like it. Yeah. Here's what I'd like to do. I want to ask you some questions about how you got to teaching. I want to know what your path was, because I don't know a lot about you before you were a teacher, and love to get into that. So we'll do that right after the break. You're listening and watching Inspiring Teachers. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Hi, everybody. It's morning time. I've been running around at 100 miles an hour making copies, making sure everything is perfect for my students. The bell's rung and I got 36 students lined up waiting for me to let them in. Before I step through this door though, I want to take a few minutes, take a few deep breaths, and center myself. That way I can present the best teacher for my students. When you feel ready, calm, and centered, step through the door.
Welcome back to Inspiring Teachers. I'm Danny Hogger with Tavis Beam and Kenneth Farr, and we're exploring the ways in which we teach and why. And Kenneth, before I met you, I knew nothing about you. You know why? Because we hadn't met. And
Makes sense.
now that I know you and we have met, I wonder how you came to teaching in the first place, because I don't think I ever got to ask you that.
Definitely. So, a little bit of a funny story behind that. Teaching was just one of those things where I was 5 years old in kindergarten and saw my teacher with the pen. And I said, I want to be a teacher one day. I've literally been saying it since I was 5 years old, telling my family and everything. A lot of people get inspired because their teacher said something to them one day, and their teacher really inspired them. Not me. I just thought it was cool that they get to write on the board and they get to grade papers and all the stuff that we as teachers could go without now, things like that. And I just have always had a really, I feel, passion for teaching. And so it's actually a funny story because I actually went to St. David, which is the school that I teach at now, from kindergarten through 8th grade. And I would literally tell my teachers, I'm going to be a teacher like you when I grow up. And I would get in trouble in school because my teacher would be writing on the board and I would have a pretend marker and be writing on my desk with my pretend marker. And they'd turn around and be like, Kenneth, I need you to focus on the lesson, not pretend you're me right now. And I'd be like, but that's no fun. I just want to pretend I'm you. I want to teach. And so fast forward to now, being back at St. David as a 5th grade teacher, I am now co-workers with 5 teachers that I once had when I went there. And so they're looking like, some kids say things, but wow, he really must have meant it when he was in 3rd grade telling me that he's going to be a teacher. So just going through school, I graduated from St. David and went to Salesian College Preparatory. And then I had a psychology teacher, and he let me teach a lesson in front of both his first period and I think I was in 4th period or something like that, in front of both classes. Most nerve-wracking thing in my life. I was terrible. He told me, that, you tried, but, here's what we got to work on. And I really appreciated that because now I could look back at that and say that was, a real big learning experience. To Cal State East Bay, where everybody's, I don't know, I'm going to go undeclared now and just take general ed classes. And I was like, which ones do you have to take to be a teacher? To graduating there in 2014, to going to St. Mary's College and getting my credential and master's. When I got my credential, they let you choose what school you want to teach at for one of the student teacher periods, and then you go to a different one. And so obviously the first one, I said, St. David, whatever they have open, I'll be a student teacher there. And so the original plan back in fall of 2014 was for me to student teach there for 3 months and then move on. And I just thought it'd be a good place to go back to start.
Right.
And so fast forward from August to October of 2014, I'm student teaching in 4th grade. My master teacher was diagnosed with cancer. Oh, wow. And she had to take the rest of the year off. And so our principal at the time said, do you feel comfortable long-term subbing on top of earning your credential right now? And I was like, I don't know. And after thinking about it, one thing came to mind. I'm not going to let this class just have a bunch of substitute teachers. And so I went on to teach and be a long-term sub for those last 7 months of the school year. And then fortunately for us, the master teacher got to come back to teach 4th grade, and the 5th grade teacher left. And so he said, how do you feel about looping with your class over to 5th grade? And my credential program was so understanding and so equipped and letting me stay at that, placement and doing what I needed to do. And so fast forward to, I've ended up following that class from 4th to 5th grade. And then I've been in 5th ever since. So technically my 5th year teaching and my 4th year teaching 5th grade, but who's counting now?
Hey, we'll edit out the AARP joke.
I know, right? And it's a really special / emotional year because that class that went from 4th to 5th is in 8th grade now. They graduate this year.
Man.
So,
that's going to be, it sounds like your heart has always been in it.
Definitely.
That's amazing. And so now that you've been a teacher for 5 years and you've always known you've wanted to do this, how has your motivation changed?
I think it's gone from just kind of doing it to now I'm at a place where I've had those, 4, 5 classes. I'm seeing, siblings come in, and I'm just at that point to where I'm in a groove now. But to be honest with you, it's the same motivation, the same passion I wake up with as I did the first year. That part has not changed. That's one part that's truly stayed the same.
it's just like been your North Star your whole life.
Right.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty
That is
cool.
wonderful.
What's one thing when a class moves out from their last day in 5th grade and moves to the next room, moves to junior high, that you would have liked them to learn outside of the curriculum that you teach? Something you want them to get from you.
Stay true to yourself. Stay true to who you are. Because when you move on in, junior high, high school, college, life, job, that doesn't do anything but get more difficult. And that's a hard concept for 10-year-olds to understand. A lot of people don't understand that until they've already experienced it. And that includes myself. And so we actually, on the last day of school, I teach at a Catholic school. And so you get to, bring the religion and, sense of God and everything into it. On the last day of school, I bring them to a nearby park. And it's a beautiful park. And we take the day and we go over there. And I have what's called a closing retreat with them. And I read them this long spiel about the year, and we have jokes. And I leave them each, and I say their name and say something I want them to take with them out of 5th grade. And I always tell them, if it's one thing out of all the things I taught about, fractions and nouns, verbs, adjectives, and the solar system, if it's anything you've heard me say, I want you to hear this. And then I give them each a piece of advice leaving. And then I have them each, we pass around a string, and we're all holding it at the same time by the time it goes around the circle. And they say something that they've, learned and want to take away from 5th grade. And after we finish, I tell them, you hold on to that string and that stays with you. And I cut each piece of the string and we tie it around our wrists. And so funny thing about this year, I keep each string each year, and you can't tell because they're all really like tangled up and whatnot, but there's 3 strings on here, know? And so a lot of them obviously like fell off or something like that, but they keep their string and they come back and they say, Mr. Farr, I will never lose that string. I have it, at this special spot in my room because I still remember that moving forward. So I think to answer your question, stay true to yourself and know what it is you need to do to become better.
Phenomenal.
And it sounds like you're really facilitating that through relationships, your relationship with the students and their relationship with each other as well.
Definitely.
That's really great. You talked about what it was like for yourself as a student. Is there a teacher who made a big impression on you, or something that you find yourself modeling or trying to become in your own way? Anything like that you'd share with us?
I have to be honest with you. I don't have that one teacher in my life who's just like, that person just really, really. But I think what's really helped me be here is that over the course of all my years of each parts of my education, I've had teachers who just generally look out for you and just show you that they care. And I think that's kind of instilled in me now. Well, I didn't have that one, this person is the one person that I could say I do have teachers who have done that, but just not that one person who sticks. But just, I think I've consistently just had teachers who just truly are doing it for the right reasons. And I could tell really looked out for me looking back. And that's really, really helped.
That's very good.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
So I'd like to try something out with you on the Inspiring Teachers that we haven't done before. Let's try the lightning round. We're going to try some rapid fire questions. I just want you to associate whatever first comes to your mind. There's no wrong answers, just embarrassing ones. Just kidding.
That sounds good.
No, it's let's just see where this leads us. And
I apologize in advance for my answers. Let's see how good / not good these are going to be.
Well, let's find out. So, Kenneth Farr, this is the lightning round. There's 5 minutes left in a day. You have no plans. You've come back from an assembly and you didn't expect to have those 5 minutes. What do you do?
Open discussion. Pull up the stool. Talk about anything.
All right, pretty good. Recess time. Oh no, look, raindrops. What now? We're staying inside. What do we do, Kenneth?
Technology is beautiful nowadays. Everybody on the Chromebooks, make sure it's appropriate. Make sure you're playing good games.
All right, pretty good. PE teacher called in sick today. I need you to cover. What games are we playing?
We have to go heads up, 7-up. Have to go 4 corners. Can't go wrong.
Classics. The classics.
Lately, it's been Warriors highlights. Try to keep it athletic.
Hey, I'd wait for a game where the Sacramento Kings won, and I'd show all the highlights for a whole year. Favorite classroom movie?
we read holes in literature, and I always let them watch the movie after we finish the book. It's always inspiring watching them compare and contrast.
And they pick out everything that's
Every
different.
single thing.
Everything.
Nats isn't fat in the movie. What is this?
Favorite subject to teach?
Math's the easiest for me, but I have more fun teaching literature and reading.
A quote or motto that you live by?
Oh, that's a tough one. There's so many good ones. A teacher should never look down on a student unless they are reaching to help that student up. I
Phenomenal.
love that one.
And way to just pull that one out.
Yeah, that was, for having a bunch, that was a good one to pull from. Best field trip?
We go on an overnight trip every year. Monterey on Thursday, aquarium, beach, stay the night, get up Friday, San Jose Technology Museum of Innovation.
Man.
That's my overnight trip.
Happiest moment you've ever had in a classroom? First thing.
Just watching my students.
Oh, come on. No, that was not the first thought.
Okay, I'll do a selfish one.
Okay.
My first class I taught, that class that started in 4th and went to 5th, they surprised me in 5th grade of Christmas, and they bought me a $500 gift card to Nike because they know I love Nike. Will
That's
never
a nice
forget.
memory.
I have a video of the look on my face when I realized how much money it was for.
It's Christmas.
I'd have to show
Right.
you guys that.
That's
one day.
beautiful. That's really
wonderful.
nice.
Yeah.
Favorite historical person to teach about?
That's another one. It's just so many. I would have to say Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And most recently Barack Obama.
You survived the lightning round. How do you feel?
You know, alive. I survived it. So, you know.
I'm glad you mentioned Martin Luther King Jr. I feel like he's my favorite American. Like when I teach that, I get so proud of what he did and how he did it. And I always say, like, I would never be a fraction of that amount of bravery to be able to speak for what you knew was right so far before anyone was ready to hear that message. Right. The brazenness of it, the boldness, but not just that, because as someone who's come from radio broadcasting, his voice, and not just his voice, but his words.
His words.
Right.
Unbelievable. A poet, but so powerful. Like, very few people, very few speeches, and I prefer the mountaintop speech, you know, one of the last things he said publicly, can bring me to tears by just hearing it for 90 seconds.
Yeah.
That's something so amazing to me.
So true.
I would teach that when I did 4th grade, and we would read the March on Washington. There was a book version of it, and this kind of outlined everything that happened on that day. And what I really liked was showing clips of, I think it was John Lewis, who was a very young man who gave a speech that day, and then now he went on to be a U.S. Senator, I believe he is.
Yeah.
And it's just really moving to take a bunch of 4th graders and dissect that speech and really go through what is he saying here? What is the point? Before you show it, so they really understand the gravity of what it is that he's talking about.
Right. And I just feel like I try to teach my students to, you know, look at the things that he did and apply it in your lives. You know, not directly the exact way, but in ways that you can. Look at the positive in things. Fight for things, but do it respectfully. When you say things, don't get upset and irritated and say something to hurt somebody.
Right.
Say something and make sure it has meaning. Right. And then you'll have so much more respect.
Great lesson. Right. Great lesson.
Absolutely.
Enjoyed that.
Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, we were just watching The Great Debaters in class. Have you seen that? It's about the 1935 Wiley College debate team.
Of course.
I didn't know that James Farmer Jr. is one of the characters marched with MLK. That's a good one too. There's so many good ones that you might go to. I was trying to think of one of mine. Like, when you taught history, did you teach history at some point? Yeah, 5th grade, right?
Yeah, when I taught 5th grade.
Was there somebody that you really liked talking about?
Well, I did Martin Luther King when I was in 4th grade. That one really stuck out the most for me. I'm trying to remember. Nothing's really coming to me right away. But yeah, it really stuck out because we did a whole big unit on it, reading the book and watching the videos. And I think it really touched a lot of people.
You know who else I like talking about, just because we're on specifics for a moment? someone who I feel like really doesn't get any credit for his early life accomplishments and all the consumer advocacy of like Ralph Nader in the 60s and 70s, accomplishing so many changes, seatbelts, prescription label warnings, clean air, clean water, and the boldness of that, the brazenness of that, standing up to a multinational corporation by yourself because it's the right thing to do, you know, regardless of whatever the end of his career has been, which can be more polarizing. I admire that kind of fortitude. You know?
He was just standing up for what he believed was right for no other reason than believing that it is in fact right.
I think those are the kinds of lessons I super enjoy in ways that I can't model, you know? So I feel like that's great. Kenneth, this has been real eye-opening. It's been inspiring for me. I know it's been inspiring for our audience. I hope you'll come back and join us again for a future episode.
Please, I would be honored.
Yeah,
Thank you
absolutely.
both so much.
We would love it. On behalf of Kenneth Farr and Tavis Beam, I'm Danny Hogger, and I folded my arms like this. We'll see you on the next edition. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.